Hi, and welcome to the U World Order Showcase podcast. Today we are speaking with Traci Everett. Traci is from Strategic Connections. She empowers people who have ADHD to find and put in place strategies that will help them truly thrive in every area of their lives. We are so glad to have you here, Traci, and get to talk about neurodivergence. It's kind of a catchy catchword phrase that's being thrown around these days, but it's not new. It's been around for decades, really. It just seems like now we're getting more attention's being placed on it. So tell us your story. How did you get started in this, and what are you doing with people?
Right. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And I started as I always, as a little kid, like wanted to be a teacher. That's what I wanted to do. And as I kind of got into teaching, it became clear that the special education world was a way to help people who might have been overlooked otherwise. And this was, a long time ago. And so I was really excited to be a part of what was kind of an up and coming part of education, even back then. And over the course of those years that I was in schools, I learned so much, like the research just became clearer and clearer. We knew more and more about how the brain works, about what kind of impact it has on students when they are part of a regular community, as opposed to being put in, the closet, because that's when I started teaching. Special education classes were often in the makeshift, janitor's closet. It was a tragedy. But it was, I've seen the changes over time. And we know now that ADHD, we used to diagnose mostly little boys who bounced around classrooms. And now we know that we have spent all this time overlooking the little girls, and that is I know about the gender. I mean, I know about all of that stuff, and it's not that cut and dried. I understand. But typically, there are another group of kids who are maybe looking out the window, watching the butterflies go by, or they're just daydreaming, and they're also not paying attention in the way that they need to be to maximize their learning. Lots of other things are going on. So we've learned that ADHD is not something that is just about being the bouncy kid. It's also about the way we pay attention, and it's even bigger than that. It's not even really about attention at all. It's much more about executive functioning skills, and that's kind of a catch-all for. I mean, it's a big phrase. It has very specific meanings, but kind of different meanings in different arenas. But when you have difficulty organizing yourself and managing your time and keeping up with all of your things and paying attention to what you're supposed to be, keeping that whatever you're working on in your memory. I mean, it really can impact so many areas of life. So that's kind of, I got to the point where I thought, okay, we're gonna start making some shifts. I can feel it. We know. And we didn't make the shifts. We just kept getting more and more information and little tiny pockets of education. We're trying, but it just never caught on. And then I remember thinking, when the beginning of the pandemic happened and we were going to all have to shift to online learning, I had this moment. I mean, I was terrified of COVID. It was a whole thing. I was in California where it was like, we were all being very cautious. But I thought, okay, but one of the silver linings is going to be that educators are going to say, hey, we know how the brain works now, and we know how we can use online education to really bring in some of these ideas that are not new, but are new to education. And instead of doing that, education just dug in their heels and said, we want to go back to the way things have always been. And the way things had always been wasn't working for most of the students that I was working with. So it left me feeling even more frustrated than I had been up until that point. And after a while, I said to my husband, I said, I just don't think I can do this anymore. I feel like kind of banging my head against the wall. And so we talked about it, and I looked into some different programs, and I was able to go through the life coaching program training, but with the idea of working with people who have ADHD. And it was so wonderful. And my husband said, sure, you can do this coaching thing, but let's move back to New York. So we were able to both be happy. I get to do what I want with my life, and we get to live where, I mean, I love New York too, but anyway. So that's kind of, I've been here now doing coaching full time for just a little over a year.
Feel it. Not New York City, outside of New York.
Yeah, outside of New York. We lived in the city for a while. My husband is actually from the Bronx, and we lived in Manhattan for a couple of years and loved it. But we decided, we'd like to be near the city so we can go when we want to, but also to have a little bit of peace and quiet, and and so yeah, it's nice out on the island.
Yeah, it's so different.
Yeah.
I won't go there. We'll just stick to the topic.
Yes.
So you were teaching in schools then,
Yes.
and now you kind of morphed over into just helping students mainly with.
That's a great question. So I started with just students, and I would help them kind of wherever they were. And I started with a couple of middle school students and a couple of high school students, and eventually a couple of college students connected with me. So I had a lot of things going on, and it depended on, where they were and what was happening in their lives as to what we worked on. But then I also began working with some adults, just kind of as different people crossed my path and different people referred them to me. And it was like, oh, this is a really big deal, because again, so many people either weren't diagnosed when they were young, but always had the struggle. I mean, it's not like they just, this just appeared one day. Or they might have even been diagnosed as a kid and somehow just managed to get through life, kind of. And now are at a place in their life where they're just like, I need some help. This is not working well. So now I have everything from middle school to people my age. So it's a really interesting mix right now.
So you're mostly doing one-on-one coaching with them?
Yes, right now, right now it's just one-on-one work. Although I work with some families, so that kind of, I'll work with like a student one-on-one to plan out their week and to look at what else coming up on their agenda and how they can manage their extracurricular activities, as well as the homework and the tests that are coming up and all that good stuff. But then I'll also meet with the parents and the student once a month or so to just kind of make sure they're on the same page, and like everybody is understanding, especially those last couple of years of high school. It can be really hard. Parents have a lot of feelings going on. I mean, their baby's about to go away to college, and they want them to be in a good college that fits who they are, and not too far from home or whatever. And the kid wants to go somewhere else maybe, and the kid has ideas about what they want from high school, and the parent has a different idea. And so to try and help them figure out how to communicate about their feelings, and then also to support one another, and for the student to understand this is really hard for your parents, and for the parents to understand, listen to why your student wants to go to somewhere far away or to a particular school, and try to figure out, just build that communication. Because what I found was, if I worked really hard with the student but I didn't include the parent, it was still just a big disconnect. So
It's interesting when you start talking about ADHD, and honestly, I don't know that much about it, but I have friends with it. And just, well, I guess what I was trying to go around in a roundabout way, it seems like whether you have ADHD or not, when you get to that point in school, having somebody to help you facilitate the conversations that you're having with your parents, because
Right.
parents really don't know what
No.
they don't know, and they
Right.
don't remember what it was like to be that age. And if they do, their circumstances were way different than what's happening right now.
Yeah.
The world has changed dramatically in the last 15 years.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
for sure.
it's like it is totally different. And then COVID just made it like
Even more
light speed.
complicated for sure. Yep. Yep.
And and college isn't
Yeah.
always the answer for every student.
Oh
And
no, for
where
sure.
parents might be like, yeah, that's my expectation for you is to do X, Y, and Z. But the kid is like, well, I just want to
I'm
learn
not
how to run
interested in that.
heavy equipment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they don't know how to have that conversation with their parents, whether they
Right.
have ADHD or
Right.
not.
Right. It is so true. So this summer I worked with several seniors and rising seniors over the summer. And a couple of them didn't have an ADHD diagnosis, but it was still really valuable for them. And we had our little family meetings, and it was great for them to be able to all get their thoughts and feelings about it out. I mean, there was one family that like everybody ended up crying, and they're all like, it was this really precious moment when they all began to see, oh, the way I've been dealing, is not mom and dad together and the kid. Like it was a whole thing, and it was really powerful for them. And I've checked in, and they're still, the things that they put in place after that meeting, they're sticking to it. And so we'll see what happens with all the, moving forward, but it's been an exciting process.
It's really empowering to families to have that
Yeah.
kind of those
Yeah.
tools.
Right.
And
Right.
they're at a point where they will see less and less of those children in their lives. It's just that's how life goes. Your
It
kids grow
is.
up and they fly away and build their own nest.
Yes.
Um, but
Yes.
if you have the tools to communicate at that point,
Right.
then you can continue on and be able to have a good connection with your kids even as
Right. Right.
adults.
As adults. And that's really important. I mean, we're not, yes, we're done raising them, but like we're still parents, and my kids are older now, and that's still, I mean, it's so true. So the things that I'm working on with my clients, I sometimes just, bring in quietly to my own conversations with my kids. And when I first started working with coaching students, it was my goal to ease the tension between parent and child by just kind of taking over all of that. Okay, what do you have for homework, and how are you going to get this all done, and all those conversations that the families were having that just led to big, I'll get it done, and
Arguments.
whatever. Yeah, I mean, so it was just this really uncomfortable situation. And so it was like, okay, I'll just solve that. I'll take that off the parent. You guys just talk about the good stuff. And, and then it took me a while, but finally it was like, oh, wait a minute. They actually need more structure. And this is, again, absolutely true for all students, but for kids who have ADHD. And often, if a kid has ADHD, at least one of their parents also has ADHD. So if you've got, two or three people who are trying to communicate these complicated issues and such deep feelings, I mean, this is like such a big time in all of their lives. It has to be more than just, I'll take that bickering off your plate. It's like, let me help facilitate a better way to be together. And really,
And
like, the goal is to enjoy that last couple of years together and
yeah,
not spend the whole thing fighting.
and I think a lot of it stems from parents don't really understand what the is required of the student because it's really different now. And
Very.
students don't know how to communicate to their parents that, hey, it's really different now. And
Right.
I don't really understand how to set this up.
Right.
Where there might have been a time when parents could say, I have these expectations of you, and the school would kind of tell you, this is how to set up your day, and this is how we're going to move you around, and this is our expectation for homework. And homework, just homework alone, is so much more intense than it was when I was in school. I don't know
Yeah,
about you,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it was
absolutely,
just like,
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
know the high school kids that are doing hours and hours and
Yep.
hours
And
of work.
hours. Yep.
Yeah, 4 and 5
Yep.
hours after school
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the next day.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and
That's not okay. And like, it's so much pressure on these kids. And again, they've already sat through their classes all day and supposedly learned a lot of things. And then they're supposed to go home and don't forget, they're also supposed to volunteer somewhere, and they should be playing a sport, and they should be involved in some kind of art. Like, there's so much pressure on these kids to do things that, I mean, that was not the culture that I went through in high school. So
yeah, and
yeah,
then they have to
it's
do a senior
different.
project. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
here, let's pile something else on. And
More
it's
things.
and parents, you it's on the one hand, they're like, have you got your homework done? But they don't really have time to sit down and look at
No,
the amount
no.
of homework that these
Right.
kids are doing.
Right.
And granted, some of them may be taking college courses. Like this
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
young gal I've known like all her life. She's 19 now, 18 now. She just graduated, but she graduated with honors. She has an associate's degree in nursing.
Oh,
She's an EMT, and she's a 5th-degree black belt.
I can't imagine how anyone can manage all of those things. And as a young person, like, I couldn't manage all of that. Like, it's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. It's a
And
lot.
just, she's a really cool person.
Yeah.
Just love this girl to death.
Right.
But
Right.
that's just, and she's
Yeah.
not unusual. I
Right.
mean, if
No,
you're
absolutely.
headed for school or
If
college,
you were headed to college, those are the
that's the,
expectations.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
But
So true.
being able to communicate with your parents, and I know her mom really well, and her mom has had expectations, high expectations for her whole life. Um, but she's she also kind of helped her figure out how to make this
Right.
happen.
Right.
And she gave her kind of a relief valve in another area of
Oh,
her
that's
life.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she has a lot of piercings.
Kids kids can do really amazing things. Like, I am blown away by some of the things that, the high schoolers and even, college kids are doing these days. Like, they know so much about the world, and they're involved in things, and they have a voice. And I think I was just busy, watching high school football games and stuff. I didn't I didn't get involved in those kind of bigger ideas. So I do think some of those things are really good, um, when kids have the structure around them to be able to manage it so that it's not just overwhelming.
Yeah, and it's kind of easy for them to get into the overwhelm mode
Oh
with
yeah.
if they have parents that don't really understand the expectations that they're
Right.
placing on the student.
Right.
And I don't think that is uncommon either,
No, not
you
at
know.
all. Yep. No,
And
many, many, many kids feel very overwhelmed. Yep. Yeah.
and so they could come to you, which
Yes.
brings us full circle. You have a Facebook group where you're
Yes.
going to be helping people figure out strategies
Right.
to do these sort of things?
Yes.
And
So yes, they share ideas of things that are causing problems in their lives around either their executive function or ADHD, and then I can sometimes help them problem solve. And that's the beautiful thing about a community is sometimes it's not me. Sometimes it's other people who have ADHD who also came up with an idea. And, so we can work together because there are solutions. So even if your ADHD is really significant, you can put the structure into your life to allow you to accomplish the things you want to accomplish. It may not be easy. For a lot of people, it's not easy. And, we have to start somewhere with one thing. We can't fix everything all at once, but we can start with something and get that area of your life. For example, I have a lovely woman that I've been working with for 8 months or so now. And she, her house was just all of the things that when you think ADHD, it was just all of that. And her dining room table, was the catch-all place for everything. And we eventually, after a few weeks working together, we're like, okay, this is a thing you can do. So that was her task for 1 week, was just to clean off the table. And a couple of days later, she sent me the picture of the perfectly clean table, and it was lovely. And she was so proud of herself. And that's been, again, that was one of the very, it was maybe a month in, and we're 7 months or so later, and her table is still spotless. Like that is a very important thing for her. And she's learned to manage that. And now it's also, spreading to other areas of her life. And we're working on some other skills and, just kind of taking one piece at a time so that she's able to find more success and more, peace. It's living in chaos that's not what she wanted,
Not peaceful.
Right.
But again, you don't have the skills
Yeah, no.
to do it. And by the time it's a problem, a
Right.
really big problem, then it is a really big problem.
Right.
It's like
Right.
you're looking at, it's like the kids' room when
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
little. And
Yes.
you're like, go clean up your room. And
And they
everything
just,
is everywhere. There is nothing in the place that
no,
it's supposed to
no.
be in. And they're like, oh no, I
I
can't
don't
do
even,
this.
it's too
It's
overwhelming. Yep.
it's too overwhelming. And
Yep.
having a coach or somebody to
Yep.
help you navigate the one thing, just do this
Right.
one thing, and
Right.
then we'll do the next
The
thing.
next thing. Yep.
And this is the
And
next thing.
that's how coaching works is we solve one problem at a time, and it's what they want to work on. I didn't look at the dining room table and be like, oh, that table's got it's a mess. It was completely her. And so working, and same thing with students, if their problem is turning things in, ADHD, all this online stuff, not learning, but online, portals and stuff. Every school has one, of course, now. And I've got kids who work so hard on their homework and it is perfect, it is beautiful, and then they forget to hit the button to upload it. And so they get either points off or, this teachers that just like, it's a 0. Sorry, excuse
Never
me.
come back from a 0. I don't know what they're
Never,
thinking.
right.
It's
Right.
like,
Thankfully, I don't have
why don't you
too
just like
many of those right now.
fail
Exactly.
them
Like,
now?
and that's not real life. Like, we don't get that in real life. Nothing is a 0 if you forget to push the button. Very, very, very few things. You may get a penalty of some kind, but like that whole I'm going to teach you responsibility by giving you a 0. That's not real life. So anyway, but we'll figure out how to work on making sure you hit the submit button or whatever the issue is if you don't know how to study for a test. And like, who teaches kids how to study for a test? That's not a thing. Who teaches kids how to take notes in class? Who teaches kids how to take a test? Like, when you sit down, the test is in front of you. Now what do you do? And here's a tip I'll just throw out there right now. Like, one of the things to think about when you're taking tests is you do not have to start with question number 1 and work straight through to the end. You can decide where you want to start. And, some people really like to start with the hardest questions. They've been studying right before they came in the room. They're ready for it. They know that formula or that vocabulary or whatever it is. And they go right for those really hard problems, get those out of the way, and then they can relax and do the easier parts of the test. Some people like to do the opposite of that. They're like, okay, there's some really hard things on this test. I'm going to start with the easy ones and build my way up. And it's up to every student every time they sit for a test. What do I need to do to maximize my ability to demonstrate what I know to my teacher? Because that's what it's all about.
Mhm.
I try to help my athletes or those who are performers of different kinds to be like, the test is just the chance to perform. Like, you've been practicing, you know how to do this. Now just perform. This is, just do the thing. So
Good tips. I didn't actually know that. I always thought you had to start at question one and work your way through.
the only exception to that is there are some online tests that won't let you go back, and like, you can't do that. That was always really frustrating for me because, like, yeah. Anyway, but most of the time, especially if it's paper and pencil, do what makes sense to you.
Yeah, it's good tip. So how can people get in touch with you, Traci?
So I have a website. It's www.strategicconnectionsadhd.com. I'd love for you to check out what's there and just see. There's a TEDx talk I got to do several years ago that's there that I talk about neurodiversity and how I think we need to value people who are neurodivergent more than we do as a society. um, and that's one way. And then also the Facebook group. And I'm on TikTok. I have stuff on TikTok, which is kind of fun for, that was a big jump, but it's been fun actually. I kind of like it. So those are the best ways to get in contact with me.
And we'll put your Facebook group in the show notes too.
Okay, great.
And what's the one thing you want to leave the audience with today?
It's actually the thing that means the most to me, and the reason I'm doing the work I'm doing is because I absolutely believe that people who are neurodivergent, which just means their brains work differently, we are a very valuable community and we have so much to offer. And when society embraces and allows people to be who they are, it's not just the people who are neurodivergent who win, it's all of society. I mean, like, we have so much to gain from appreciating those differences.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. I think everybody's neurodivergent in some way.
I think so too,
Nobody's the
right?
same.
Yes. Yes. Yes,
And
exactly.
that's
Like,
what makes
every
the world
brain is
so
different.
cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been great.
Thanks for having me.